So today I've come out to a local park where there is a bit of a wetland with lots of cattails and grasses and some shrubs that like to grow in moist soils. And if you've got a spot like that near you, you know, just like I do, that you're going to find a bird called the red-winged blackbird in this vicinity. The red-winged blackbirds love the insects that live in wetlands. And they often use cattails as their preferred habitat for nesting. I'm going to give you a view of this particular habitat. And there you can see cattails and shrubs and no red-winged blackbirds at the moment. Oh, you might have heard one sing. I don't quite see where that bird is. But if this were early in the morning and perhaps a little earlier in the breeding season, that cattail marsh that I just showed you would be packed full of red-winged blackbirds singing their heart out, trying to defend a territory and attract mates. It's not unusual for males to try and defend their territory, proclaim their territory by singing. But what's sort of interesting with the red-winged blackbird is that its territory size is remarkably small for, relative to most other birds. Some red-winged blackbird males defend territories that are only like 10 by 10 feet in size. That's on the small side, but it's not uncommon. There are other red-winged blackbirds that have larger territory sizes. And it's all dependent on the quality of the habitat. If it's really, really good habitat, all the food they need in terms of insect prey is going to be found in that 10 by 10 square. Now, some habitats, though, are rather poor in quality, and so the bird has to defend a greater amount of space in order to have enough food to not only keep itself supported, but also a family or two or three. And that gets me to my next point about the red-winged blackbird. Even though these territories are quite small, the male red-winged blackbird is out there to attract multiple female mates. And the best red-winged blackbirds will have 2, 3, 4 females that choose his particular territory in which to build a nest and raise young. Those young, of course, will be his, as well as the respective females that he mates with. But it's very interesting because this is a mating system that is somewhat unusual in birds, but a lot more usual in mammals, and that is polygyny. That's where one male meets with multiple females. The more typical breeding system in birds is what's called social monogamy, where it's just one male mating with another female, having them hang out together, building a nest together, taking care of the young together. Male red-winged blackbirds do very little in the way of parental care. So why in the world would a female choose to mate with a male that's not even particularly parental? Well, it's all that habitat quality. The female is going to choose the red-winged blackbird based on the territory that he possesses and can defend from other males, and that way she knows that there's going to be adequate food for her and the chicks. Okay, so we've got one male red-winged blackbird. He's arrived from migration, he's set up a territory, and he's attracted his first female. And he's mated with her, and she's built a nest, and everything's great. That red-winged blackbird male, though, he is still going to be singing and trying to attract other females to his territory. From the male's perspective, that's really good because he gets to mate with multiple females and have a lot more offspring than he would if he was mating with just a single female. What about the viewpoint of the female from an evolutionary standpoint? Why would a female choose to mate with a male who was already mated to somebody else? The reason is territory quality. As I've mentioned, some territories are very high in quality and have a lot of food, and in other territories, not so much. And the females are tuned into this. And so as the females arrive and look at all the different males defending all the different territories that the males have, the females see that some of those territories are much better in quality than others. So a second female might actually choose to mate with a male who already has a mate, who already has a female mate that's built a nest in his territory, and the second female will again build a nest in that same territory. So now we've got one male with two female nests, and so on. It could actually go on for 3 or 4 females. From the female's perspective, the choice is this: does she choose to mate with this male on a really good territory and share the resources that are on that territory with all the other females? Or does she mate with a male red-winged blackbird that does not yet have a mate? In other words, does the female choose to be monogamous, or does she choose to be polygynous and share the resources with all the other females? And more often than not, if it's a really good, high-quality territory, it works out in the female's favor to share. There is enough food to go around when the quality of the territory is really high, when there's a lot of insect prey, a lot of good vegetation. And then there's males like this one, right behind me here, right over my ear, right there. And so he's just perched on this little short tree, and he's sort of given a check call. I've been watching him a little bit. He's been sort of flying across the trail back and forth. He's rather agitated that I'm here. But because he's been flying back and forth across the trail, and also I'm turning around, do you see any cattails around here? I see some grasses, see some shrubbery. There's actually a pond sort of in front of me over here, but it's somewhat distant. This is actually not the best quality habitat for red-winged blackbird. So I think this guy who's currently above my head in that small little tree, he probably doesn't have that many mates. He might have just one mate somewhere who's built a nest somewhere low to the ground, and he's certainly on the search for other mates. But would other females settle down on his territory? Probably not. They're going to be going and sharing territory with other females and another male on a much smaller plot of land that has a lot of cattails and a lot of the insect prey that live within those cattails.